Battle of Camden fought in the 16th. Oh my gosh. The Battle of Camden, fought on the 16th of August, 1780, still stands in the annals of American history as one of the most critical and decisive battles of the Revolutionary War. It marked the first significant American victory in the South, and it effectively halted the British offense at the Carolina-Georgia border. The battle began in early morning hours just north of the small South Carolina town as General Horatio Gates and 4,000 Continentals battled against the far superior army of the British Lieutenant General Charles Cornwallis. Though outnumbered 10 to 1, the American troops put on a powerful fight, supported in part by troops from the local militaries, and ultimately succeeded in driving the British back in haste. The battle began with the British troops camping along the riverbank and the experimental American troops stationed at 3 position points. General Gates attempted to redirect the attack by ordering a flanking march to attack the enemy from the sides. After a bloody skirmish of nearly 4 hours, Gates and his troops were able to penetrate the British line and take the fight further near Camden. Despite this effort, however, the British troops managed to regroup and launch a much larger counterattack. Though the American soldiers bravely put up a fight under the command of General Gates, the British soon gained the upper hand. The British used their superior artillery forces to inflict heavy casualties upon the American troops. At this point, the majority of the Continental Army was dispersed, while a select group of the more experienced militia troops chose to rally together and statically resist. Effectively, the American troops were pushed back repeatedly and suffered an estimated loss of over 1,000 killed, wounded, and or taken prisoner. The Battle of Camden was a devastating loss for the American troops, who had expected to be able to secure a victory with their newfound hope and spirit. Despite this setback, however, the Battle of Camden had the positive effect of rallying the American militias. Shortly after the battle, many of the troops who had survived chose to re-enlist and refortify their effort, this time under the newly appointed General Nathaniel Greene. These inspired militia troops, strengthened with continued British offenses, managed to successfully contain the British to force the South dependent upon them following the British defeat at Yorktown. The Battle of Camden was indeed a tremendous milestone for the American fight against British due to the heroic stand of the militia and the tactical genius of General Gates. Though the American troops were outnumbered and forced to endure a bloody 4-hour battle, they were able to hold off the British, forcing them to regroup and leading them to their eventual demise. Though the loss in the Battle of Camden was great, the truth is that this battle is what led to the eventual American victory. The bravery, fortitude, and determination of the troops fighting at Camden are a testament to the spirit of the American Revolution and a proud moment in our nation's history. The American Southern Army submitted to the British in Charleston, South Carolina on May 12, 1780. There were now less than 6,000 Americans still fighting, and the South no longer had an organized army. The British's tactic of concentrating their efforts in the South was working well. Savannah and Charleston were now governed by the British at the time. After he left General Cornwallis in charge in the South, Sir Henry Clinton returned to North York via ship. Cornwallis planned to march north to seize control of North Carolina and restore the royal administrations in South Carolina, but Cornwallis soon saw that his army could not rule the Carolinas, even if they could win wars. Although the King's banner was not widely and for embraced by the Loyalists, Patriot militia and guerrilla troops were successful. General Horatio Gates gave the American Southern Army a new name, the Grand Army, when he landed in North Carolina to assume command of it. In his army, Gates could only tally slightly more than 1,000 Continental soldiers from Delaware and Maryland. He anticipated that partisan soldiers led by Marion and Sumter, as well as reinforcements from Virginia and North Carolina militia units, would come join him. As Gates prepared to march southward from Ruggerleeds Mill towards Camden on August 13th, he discovered from the unit reports that, contrary to his initial belief of 7,000 soldiers, there were only little over 3,000 men present and fit for action. Gates was unfazed by the news, since he thought that despite having a lesser army, he still outnumbered the British.